Non-Compos Mentis, for those who aren't dead clever at Latin like I am, or for those who don't know how to search for the term on Google like I do, means absolutely bananas in the brain box. That's the literal translation. Merriam-Webster says so. I'm going to be honest with you, I have absolutely no idea why this game is named that. It's probably the most sensible game I've ever played on the Spectrum. It was given away on the front of Your Sinclair magazine April of 1992, if the cover of the magazine is to be believed, and their contents page says, Non-Compos Mentis is a complete reader game and it's bonkers. No, it's not. It's really not, Your Sinclair. Also, complete reader game. That is really weird phrasing. I had to read the sentence a few times before I even understood what they were talking about. Why not just say free full game? Who the hell says complete reader game? It sounds like you're telling me the game is for people who are completely non-compos mentis for reading. I know I'm complaining about this far too late, but I don't like this terminology. I'm glad it died. Anyway, what the hell is this game? We've already established that it's not mental, regardless of what Your Sinclair states. But what do you do, exactly? Well, it's actually quite a fun little puzzler. You're given some random shapes, none of which fit together in the way you actually want them to, because much like Tetris, everything that you do want never appears. You've got to place the pieces on this generously big grid, trying to leave as few gaps as possible. Funnily enough, Your Sinclair gave the game away, but they don't even get the bloody rules right. They state that you have to fill a set portion of the screen before the timer runs out, but this is absolute parsnips. The best thing about it is, the person who wrote the rules is the same bloody person who made the game, Nigel Grange. Maybe the game was named after his current mental state? Why are the rules wrong, Nigel? Come on, lad. The red bar at the top is a time limit of sorts, but it actually works in reverse. Each time you put a piece on the board, a chunk of time is removed. It slowly ticks back up again, but the idea here is to put down pieces fast and accurately in order to remove this red bar down to 0. This mechanic works in almost exactly the opposite way of how he tells you in the magazine. Regardless, what initially seems like a game that should be a nice, gentle sorting operation becomes a frantic hoarding session. In order to beat that timer down to a pulp, you're going to need to move fast. And moving fast while trying to cover every possible gap, thereby giving you enough space to keep putting more pieces, is frantic and fun. When it comes to puzzle games in general, I prefer to take a free-form approach. I can't be arsed sitting there working out the exact moves required in order to complete something. It just doesn't sit well with me at all. I like to work things out, and I like to work things out fast, and Non-Compos Mentis essentially forces you to become the world's fastest shelf stacker. It's not easy, and even getting to level 2 is a solid achievement, but it's also never really frustrating. I realise I basically just compared this to shelf stacking, but I mean like really fun shelf stacking. Your Sinclair were obviously quite happy with the giveaway anyway, because no less than 3 months later, they decided to give away the sequel to Non-Compos Mentis, Non-Compos Mentis 2 Pleasure Beyond Pain. Once again, I have no idea what is going on with the naming convention here, because the sequel is almost identical to the first game. Why does the title make it sound like a Hellraiser sequel? Anyway, Nigel has actually written the rules up correctly for this one, so that's a good start. And when I say that the game is the same, it really is. There's a few changes to the UI, and there's now a difficulty selection, where hard mode basically just speeds everything up, including your own movement, weirdly. It's also rounded off quite nicely with a 2-player mode, which I've not yet tried out, but I imagine it's a bit like arguing with your wife about where in the cupboard the beans should go. Oh, and one other thing. There's music now on the main menu, but I've left this until last because I really need you to prepare yourselves for this one. I've listened to some seriously weird shit in my time, but when this first started playing, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure if my ears were working properly. Are you ready for this? Okay, here you go. Don't say I didn't warn you. That was nice, wasn't it? I'd like to see the London Philharmonic Orchestra cover that little gem. And that's pretty much it for Non-Compos Mentis 1 and 2. I will say that it's pretty hard to choose between the two of them. They're both essentially the same game with some minor differences. Even the shapes you put on the grid are exactly the same, but overall it's a solid little puzzle game and well worth checking out. If you're a fan, I can also highly suggest something a little more modern. The indie game Chime and its sequel Chime Sharp are usually available on PC for rather cheap, and they follow a very similar structure. But it manages to fold music into the mix, adding an interesting edge. It's good. You should play that, and you should play these as well. That's all I've got. Bye.